I'm Alex Beattie, divorce prep coach, aka the divorce planner. I love these conversations that I have with different divorce professionals. Today's guest is one of my absolute favorites. Samantha Boss is a mediator as well as a parenting plan coaching expert.
Yeah.
She can be found across all social media platforms, and as I mentioned, goes live quite
Mhm.
often. She has various services available, whether it's a parenting plan course, working one-on-one, or she has this great monthly membership with Coach Leah Marie at Mindfully Ready called The Next Chapter, specifically for moms. And with that, Samantha, thank you so much for joining
I know.
me.
I'm so happy. It's been a minute since we've hung out, so we need to just make this probably a little bit more traditional than what it is. So I'm still trying to get guests onto my show. I'm just to that point now where I feel like my business is going well. So I will return the favor and have you over because I think what you do is not anywhere close to what I do is really preparing women. So we work well together, and I think that says a lot about our community of providing things for women. Is that we are well enough aware that what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are, and you prepping women for divorce is critical. And then once they know they want a divorce and they're ready, then that's where I kind of jump in.
It's,
So it works hand in hand.
thank you so much. I love the divorce community, and you have always been so incredibly gracious and welcoming. So thank you for that. And I
Yeah.
think it's very of the fact that what brought you to this work as well as I is coming from a personal place of having
Absolutely.
experienced and finding your passion, and that really comes through with your work. So for anyone joining us, if you have a question about building a parenting plan or high conflict co-parenting, please drop it in. I'm just going to kick off with about 4 questions.
Yeah.
Conversation should last about 20 minutes. If you join late or if you have to drop out, it's going to be posted immediately after. So if you have a question, drop it in and we'll get to it even if you're not here.
Awesome.
So, I mean, I think let's start with like kind of a 101 question, which is, understanding the basics. What should be included in a parenting plan if you're drafting one going through a divorce?
Right. Well, I think first understanding like what is a parenting plan. I don't think a lot of women really understand what the end result is when they get divorced. I think everybody's so hyped up on ending this marriage and getting out of this, union that they don't understand what their end product is going to be when they hire said attorney and they go in front of a judge. What will you walk away with after this divorce? And that is 2 things. You're going to have a financial portion, which you know a lot about, and you're going to have a parenting plan. You're going to have 2 pieces, 2 documents, essentially, and they're called different things all over the United States and all over the world, MSAs or parenting plans, everybody's different, but the basis is what it is a parenting plan. So a parenting plan is a document, a legal binding document that both parties agree to follow, ideally, for the sake of their children, and in said document, you're going to have things like visitation schedules and holiday schedules and vacation schedules and so much more. And I think what I bring to the table is the reality of not all parenting plans are created. Job at making sure that all the bases are covered. And so what I do is I educate women about make sure your attorney does not forget these things because these things are critical for you. And I think a lot of attorneys are still using older templates that maybe aren't up to date with the times and up to date with both women and men working and not staying at home and both and technology and kids needs and how busy kids are. I think a lot of attorneys are using older templates. So here are the 5 things that I think are non-negotiables. That, there's a lot of things that I think you should have in your parenting plan, but 5 things that are non-negotiable, especially, again, I specialize in high conflict. So first and foremost, legal decision making. I think a lot of states are switching to this 50-50, everybody, you get joined and you get joined, even though I can prove that him and I hate each other and him and I have abuse in our relationship, we get handed joint. So I really think unraveling that with your attorney and going into finer points of detail of what does that really mean you have to be doing. The other thing is a visitation schedule. I see all the time people having these vague visitation schedules that just say mom gets 2 days a week and dad gets 3 days a week and they alternate weekends. And I'm like, what time does it start? What time does it end? What specific day do I have? How the hell do I plan? I'm a type A person. How would I plan anything if I just have to work with him? He hates my guts. So having that strict visitation schedule. The other thing is the holidays. We're coming on to the busiest season of the year with holidays. We got Halloween around the corner. We got Thanksgiving. We got a whole bunch of religious holidays bunched into one in December. And you got to have that time scheduled for you to celebrate with your family and your children. So making sure that holiday schedule gives your children enough time to relax and enjoy, but also able to see your extended family. And I think a lot of attorneys are throwing people to the bus and saying, well, just talk about it. Just go work it out. Be reasonable with each other. And if we know anything, personality disorders, mental disorders are on a rise, and trying to deal with somebody that's just not stable is not how I want to spend my holiday time. The fourth one is extracurriculars. I think a lot of people are divorcing when their children are young, and they don't understand how busy and active their kids will be as they get older. And so that paragraph is kind of just skimmed over really fast. And then as your kids start to be in t-ball and basketball and soccer and band and chorus and travel sports, you go to your parenting plan for security and help and guidance, and you're like, oh crap, that's really vague. And now I don't know what we're supposed to do here, and all that results is you have to call your attorney again and spend more money. And the last part, back to money, is reimbursement policy. There's a lot of things that people are going to be splitting the cost on, or should be, I should say. And there's no policy saying, when do you have to pay me back? It's just, here I am writing check after check after check, for soccer, for medical, for all these things. And it never says when I have to, when do I get my reimbursement? And as a single mom, my account can't float all of the bills 100% and just waiting for him to pay me back. So those are the 5 things that I see across the board. That there's so much more, but those are the 5 major things that I feel like have a long lasting impact that really screw up being a single mom.
So much great information in that answer, Samantha. Thank you so much. And I think what people are usually surprised at, and what you're so good at because you are so detailed and you're such a forward thinker, is people think it's going to be a one and done, right? But and it really is a living document, especially if you've got young kids, because things change as they grow up and as things change. But for sure, having an understanding of the details of vacation time from school, who's getting what when, and also the reimbursements are huge. You're right, because you're already operating on much smaller budgets after divorce, and so you can't just sit there absorbing these costs without knowing going to be reimbursed. So we got something dropped in, which is perfect segue into the next question, which Kay asked, how does one get their ex-partner to the table to actually discuss a parenting plan? We left our marriage with the intention to work together and raise the babies, and communication has now eroded. So what tips do you really have for trying to maintain a healthy, or at least an open and cooperative line of communication with your ex?
I think first you have to know, who are you talking to? So I may have all these great thoughts. I'm sitting here listening to Alex. I've watched Sam, I'm watching Leah, and I'm hearing all of this great information. I have to know that how I deliver that information might not be received the way I'm delivering it. And I think a lot of women, we're over here, we have a problem, we're seeking an answer. We're Googling shit, we're buying stuff, we're getting on a course, we're doing all these things. But how we sit at the table and we say, hey, we need to figure out this holiday schedule. We need to figure out visitation. We need to talk about a reimbursement policy. What I may be saying is care and concern, and for both of us, but what that person may be hearing is, oh God, she got smarter than me. She's trying to one up me. She's trying to, smooth one over and take advantage of me. So I think first and foremost, you have to meet your partner where they are at. And I think when we talk over their head, they get intimidated. Instead of saying, I don't understand, can you explain? They're just going to pony up to no. Nope. And they're going to go get lawyers, and it's going to be costly, and it's going to go outrageous. What I think would be, if I had a do-over and maybe my ex-husband wasn't so high conflict, is I think I would have made the plan myself first and then piecemealed it over. Maybe I would have said, hey, let's think about our holidays coming up. Your family does this on these days, my family does, and slowly start building how it benefits my ex. If I go in talking about myself on, we need to do this, and I think this is what's best, and I think we should split up the kids, and I know what's better for the children, they get intimidated, and they will regress back to the corner and come out fighting in that corner like, you're not going to talk to me that way. So again, first and foremost, meet your partner where their mental and emotional capacity is at. Don't overtalk them. Don't try to be overeducated to them, because they will get intimidated quickly. The other is, it's not going to be done fast. Is a year a year to 2 years. I mean, we're not getting divorced in 6 weeks, folks, unless we both come to the kitchen table at the same time and we're with pens in hand, and that's a rare percentage of people nowadays. So I think you have to respect your partner of where they're at. They might not be ready. They may still be in the bitter phase, the angry phase, the shame phase where they're not wanting this marriage to end. And that's why they don't want to meet and talk to you. And ultimately, if you have resistance so bad that someone's like not meeting you at the table anymore, then you have no choice but to go lawyer up and have your lawyer handle it at that point. And that's what's sad, that that's where everybody goes first nowadays and goes to the lawyer, and nobody's talking at kitchen tables anymore. And that's just the times that we're in, because we have a lot of people that are hurt, and hurt people hurt people. So if I'm hurt, then I'm going to attack you, and I'm going to say no because you want this, and I'm saying no to all of it. And so you have to just kind of remove yourself from the situation, and from their perspective, what are they feeling? And I don't think I did that very well. I think, I walked into my divorce saying, this doesn't make sense. We're not getting along. We hate each other. Let's just get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he would rationally hear that.
Mm-hmm.
What he heard was, well, I'm going to have a failed marriage, number two. She's going to take everything I have. I'm not going to see my kids. And so he put a wall up real fast and was like, no, 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 no. So I think you need to remove and look from their perspective. And you might understand that this is why you're getting met with resistance, is they are scared. They're scared to death.
I think you really nailed it on the head, which is it's an emotionally triggering conversation, and what you're saying might not be landing the way you want to communicate. The other person is instead, that's the thing. It's like, you and I've talked about this before, where I really lean into with clients is there's an emotional side to divorce and there's a business side, and you need to separate the two. So, and that can be really hard if you're in the middle of the process, if you're talking about, holy shit, we have to split all of our assets, all of our finances, and kids on top of it. And people, they're just raw, so you don't already have communication. That was a fantastic answer. And it kind of like segues into another question, which is, how can you really make sure that you structure a plan that's going to anticipate certain changes, or it's going to take into account the fact that it is hard to have these conversations over and over again because maybe there's some friction, or because, by the way, it costs you money every time you open your mouth to an attorney or a mediator to try to put, an addendum on top of your judgment. How can you kind of anticipate that so you can head it off at the pass, save money, and also your sanity?
Well, I think that comes back to, who are you putting on your team to help you? And I think this is something, you and I are from the same generation. We kind of voyaged through this divorce on our own. There's a lot of shame and guilt. So we hired our attorney, we buried our head down, and we said, I'm fine, I'm fine. And we didn't seek a lot of outside help. And hence why we know our jobs are so important now, because we didn't have people like us around. And so where I think people go wrong is they hire that attorney, and that attorney only, and they don't talk to anybody else. And I want everybody to kind of dig deep and think about this. You hired someone to help you with this plan, this parenting plan for your child. This parenting plan is supposed to get you from diapers to diploma. It really is. And so many attorneys, and I like to call attorneys Larry's, Larry the lawyer, he doesn't build you a lifelong plan. He builds you the right now plan. Because why? He wants you to come back, and he wants you to come back. So when you look at Larry the lawyer that you've hired, does Larry have children? Does he even know what your children are going to go through? And I'm not saying your attorney needs to have children, but you need somebody on your team that has had children. And I think that's why I'm so popular, is because my kids are 20 and 18, and they were divorced kids at 1 and 3. So I've navigated this whole single mom life and every milestone that my kids have went through as a single mom and with a high conflict person, wishing that my parenting plan was more than 4 pages and 16 paragraphs. I was hoping that it had some detail in it, and it didn't. And as I navigated life with him and I started working on this job, I realized there is a way that you actually can get kids from diapers to diplomas. And what we do is we look at what children go through on a basic, need level. They have daycare, they have preschool, they have school, they have junior high, they have high school, but they also have cell phones, and they have cars, and they have jobs, and they have sporting events, and they have religion. So we take all of those components and we write about them. And the thing that lawyers don't like me and say, well, you don't know. You don't know, if your child's going to go through that. And to that, I say, well, if our child doesn't, can't we just skip that paragraph? So it's kind of like I've come up with solutions, and attorneys either absolutely love my plan, they fall in love with it, and I give them permission to use it forever, or they hate my plan because I've taken rehired over. and over again.
Yeah.
And so it's a love-hate relationship, but there is a way. You just got to kind of look at what is my kid going to go through. But the problem is you're a first-time mom. You have a 3-year-old. You don't know what your kid's going to need and go through. So when you see that really shitty parenting plan, you go, this looks great. And then 2 years from now, you're like, oh shit, school's not even in here.
Yeah.
You know, preschool is, but school's not. And now you're back to hiring your attorney again. So I think it's just getting somebody on your team that knows children, that knows what children go through, and that has been divorced and understands those both things that you just talked about, the emotional side and the business side. You got to have people on your team that can take emotion out and help guide you as a business decision of what's good and what's bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's 100% true. And I think there's this idea, you know, you say parenting team, right? I think there's this idea out the gate of, well, my team is my attorney, right? And that's not true. Or this idea to have more resources is something that's reserved for people with, you know, a huge budget.
Right.
And that's not true
That's not
anymore.
true.
Like what you and I and even Leah Maria have done, and a lot of colleagues in this field, is having gone through it and then entered this specialty. Having come from that place, we understand the financial challenges that you're going through. So we've made it affordable no matter where you are in your budget, whether it's you have zero money and you just need to sit and watch these conversations, or if you have a little bit of a budget or beyond. This is accessible for anyone at this point. It's no longer reserved for the 1%. Thank you so much for that really detailed answer. And I think it kind of is a good segue into my next question, but we did get a couple things dropped that I just want to cover. Sarah said she actually is a fan and she has listened to you and tried to implement some of your tips. And she said the courts and my lawyer refused to consider the items you suggested in your non-negotiables and other training material. How do I tackle this?
Well, first and
resistant
foremost,
attorneys.
yes, we have to look at who we hire on our team, and we have to look at their agenda. So it's one thing for your attorney to say no, that will not be considered by a judge. It's another thing to say, ooh, I've never heard of this before. I would love to be the first one that presents it to a judge to come up and show the judge that this is resolution. Holy cow, like this will save people. So I have to look at my attorney's agenda with me. And first and foremost, not every attorney is created equal, and not every attorney is your attorney. There are bad attorneys out there. There's bad mediators out there. There's bad therapists out there. We have to weed through the shit and get to a good one. And sometimes people have to switch lawyers 2 or 3 times to find that attorney that reads those suggestions and goes, oh my gosh, your story is so high conflict. I 100% know why you want these details. I will go stand in front of that judge and I'm going to talk that judge into it. Because part of what you're hiring, you know, Larry the lawyer to do is to showcase your case, is to be this theatrical person in the courtroom and say, this woman has been through hell and back and what this man has put her through, and she's high conflict situation, and this is why she's asking for all this detail and protection for her future, because it's a financial burden. If you don't get those details put in now, you're going to hire your attorney. So the other thing I would say to this person is ask your attorney, okay, if I leave all this out, will you represent me for free when I have to come back? 100%. They're going to tell you, no way, no way, no way. So it's like, so if I'm asking for it, I would much rather have a judge tell me no. But again, I question that judge on how long has that judge been on file? Has he been up on there? He's never seen a good parenting plan. He doesn't know what resolution looks like. I think there's a lot of judges out there, and I'm getting on a tangent, I know, but there's so many baby boomer judges out there that have always been married. The wife has always worked, you know, been home with the kids. They've never really handled the kids. They don't understand the dynamic of high conflict. They don't understand how crazy it's getting out there in the streets in divorce. Yeah. They don't. And when they're writing these parenting plans that say, you know, parents will reasonably discuss this later, are you kidding me? Like, no, they're not. We're going to be on Dateline if we have to talk about this. You know, we're not a Lifetime movie. We're a Dateline series. Like, and I just don't think attorneys and judges, because of who they are and the ages that they are, they're from that generation where women stayed at home. We're not there anymore, folks. Like, wake up. There's mental illness and personality disorders running rampant, and that's who I'm divorcing. You know, I need these details. So not every attorney is going to say yes. And I think you have to pony up to the idea of, okay, if you can't present me in the way that I want to be presented, then I might have to look somewhere else. But never fire your attorney until you have another attorney.
Such smart advice. And you know what, you hit on something so important, which is you are really a part of your divorce team as well, right? Yes. So you working in partnership with your attorney. And even in the selection process, you have to approach it kind of like dating. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's not the right fit. Actually, for anybody who's interested, I have a freebie, 24 questions to ask a divorce attorney or a
I
mediator.
send that to
Oh,
everyone. I push that everywhere because I'm like,
had her
it's
eyes
so smart.
Yeah, she had her eyes on it early on. And what I love about that freebie is it's a good jumping off point to get you thinking about questions you should be asking, and also prepares you to start making the most of your time in those consultations with a place for you to put all the details of the meeting and bring your own questions up. But more importantly, it puts you in the habit out the gate that you're going to have to be engaged in this process, and you're going to have to be advocating for yourself. So all of the stuff that I talk about with regard to preparation, financial planning, that Sam talks about
Yes.
with parenting planning by conflict, all that stuff is information that you're going to get activated with. We want you to be educated, to also be your best advocate and feel confident throughout the process. So don't
Right.
just rely on somebody else, because nobody's going to care about the details of your life the way that you do.
100%.
Okay?
100%.
Because everybody's worried about themselves. I'm sorry, even Larry the
Yep.
lawyer, getting that half an hour of time where they're focused, and then you have to realize they've got all these other clients, so you have to be driving it. And if Samantha, I think that's the $1 million piece of advice, which is, if you are not happy with how you're being represented, it is in your power to speed up or slow down the process. Ask questions. If you think something's being left out, bring it up. And if you're uncomfortable and it's not a good partnership dynamic, look for somebody else. It's okay.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what I said about talking to your ex. If you go to your attorney and what you delivered is, hey, I was on this really good podcast, I listened to some things, I took this class, I hired this woman, whatever it is, and you're going and you're spewing these great ideas to Larry, your lawyer, and Larry's like, no. You
Yeah.
got to think about how you delivered that and who you're delivering to. Let's face it, most lawyers are alphas and narcissists, because they have to be for their job. They have to be egotistical. They have to be able to, go fight for us. And so their personality is not somebody that's going to go, oh, you went and got an education and now you're telling me something. So again, you have to think about how you deliver this information to your said attorney, because some attorneys have an ego and some attorneys will get offended that you're trying to act like you have some law degree, or that me, this woman on the internet has some big law degree. I don't. I have experience of living a life with a high conflict person with a shitty parenting plan. And I thought, I don't want to be the only one that has to do this. I should be. I want everybody else to have a better parenting plan than me. So that's why I created one. And I just think, if your attorney is not, if you're intimidated by your attorney, that's not your
Yeah.
attorney. You should be able to have a relationship of respect with your attorney. And if your attorney is acting like this to push you down here to get you to comply,
Mm-hmm.
this is not your attorney. I'm sorry. It's not. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be that way.
My head was about to fall off. I was nodding so hard. It's true. Trust your gut. Please go with your gut.
Yeah.
And really, there is no power dynamic. That person is working for you.
Representing
Full stop.
your future. The future you have with your children is on their shoulders. And if they're saying no, no, no to everything that you're like, but I know him and I know what it's going to be like if I don't have this sentence in there. No. Sorry, Charlie, you're not my guy. I'm going to have to go find somebody else, And so I wish more people did that. I've had 3 attorneys in my 8 years of dealing with my ex-husband. 8 years, you guys, over $100,000, because my parenting plan was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. And I wish, and see, people say this all the time after they find me and they're like, where were you 3 years ago? Where were you 7 years ago? I've been to court 7 more times because my parenting plan was shit. Take that as advice. See that as testimony of people that wish they would have tried harder the first time and
Mm-hmm.
had more detail the first time, so they would stop this just complete train of circling back to the station of, let's go back to court, let's go back to court, because that is stressful.
Yeah.
That's time, that's money, that's your kids seeing you stressed out. My kids the first 8 years were like, oh, she must be going to court again. I don't think they ever said those words, but they could sense my body language and my mood and my temperament, because I was so anxious about court coming up, because we had to go back for this and had to go back for that. I don't want that for anybody. That is misery in a can that I never want you to have to open. It's horrible.
Thank you for sharing that. And it goes back to, I love the fact that, you come to this work from a really personal place. You've also worked with thousands of clients now.
Yes. Yes.
Like, your frame of reference, as is mine, after being in this industry for so long, is we've experienced every kind of version of a divorce you would want to kind of think about. So it's a lot that we get to pull from to benefit you. But especially with, as you mentioned, with the ongoing parenting plan, with you having to go back 8 years over and over again, that's why being as detailed as possible up front really benefits you emotionally and
Right.
financially. Heather, drop, what tips do you have if your ex demanded a mediator but is not providing documents or information so that we can keep the process going? Essentially, he's dragging out. I'll just throw this in. That means that you need to put a time deadline on things, and if we don't get those by then we're going to have to move forward with
Right.
attorneys. End of story. Put a hard
Right.
deadline.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing, like someone's asking, what if your ex says no to a parenting plan that has a lot of detail? I
Mm-hmm.
want you to first and foremost understand this. You write a really structured, overly detailed parenting plan. This is a rough draft. This is the first proposal. You have to know that some things you're going to lose. Because nobody's walking away from a divorce with everything.
Yeah.
So you're going to write this overly detailed parenting plan with everything that you can think of. And you know what? You might have to X out some things, and you might change some dates and change some times, but the nuts and bolts are still there. The specifics are still there. It's just not everything that you possibly wanted. But let's say that doesn't even get approved, right? And so I have clients that purchase my parenting plan, and the judge says, absolutely not. You're going to use the template that I've had in store since 1984, and you're going to use the same one, and I'll see you back in a year,
Mm-hmm.
is essentially what they're saying. You still have the product.
Mm-hmm.
You still have all the solutions right here in your home office. You have it right in front of you. You have the product. So when inevitably that problem comes about, you're like, oh, let me flip to page 7. Remember when I sent this over to you a year ago and I told you this would be a problem, and here we are with the problem, and here's this, you already have your solution. And I think that reassurance, I think every time I went back to court for those 8 years, I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't know what the solution was. I didn't know, like, how, I know this is a problem, but I don't know what the solution is. I think having just all the solutions down from diapers to diploma will ease the stress, and I can focus on my kids and mother, and I can focus on myself and take care of myself. When I'm always in the back of my mind worried about court, worried about a fight, worried about a solution, worried about attorneys, that's not a
Yeah.
good life. It's not a good life. It's a lot of alcohol. It's a lot of therapy. It's a lot of coping skills. If you don't have the right ones, you're going to pick the wrong path like I did
Mm-hmm.
until you figure it out. So I think just having all the solutions, whether it gets believed or not, or taken into court or not, you have them. And it's a big reassurance.
100% agree with you across the board. And we've blown by our 20 minutes, and I'm going to wrap
Oh,
up with one question that we got from one of our viewers, which is CG Butterfly said, how can you help me with my parenting plan? We have a trial coming up soon.
yes. Okay. So everything, we've just changed our whole system, and it'll be launched out today. So it's samanthaboss.com. And what we're going to do now, we had an old school way, and we're like, you know what, how can we make it even easier for our clients? And people know that I'm the high conflict person. Come to me if you know that your ex and you are going to have some bad seasons, right? And so what people do if they want to hire my team and I is they go to my website, they purchase my parenting plan, and immediately you are sent a questionnaire. It's a simple questionnaire. I used to have this big, huge, long questionnaire, but what I found out is people don't know those answers. They're coming to me for those answers. So why not just give them the answers? So it's a very simple questionnaire, basic questions like what is your address, and where does your ex work, and where do you work, and how old are your kids, and what are they involved in? So I kind of know your story. My team and I will produce your parenting plan for high conflict based on the information you put in that questionnaire. You get that back in 10 to 15 business days, and now you get to have a consult with me or a team member, and then you get one more round of edits, and then it's yours. And you're walking away with a 30 to 40 page plan from diapers to diploma, and you take that to your attorney, you take that to your kitchen table with your ex if you're still there, you take that to mediation, you say, here's what we need. Here's what the thoughts are. Here's the plan from diapers to diploma. We got to be done with each other and move on with our lives. And this is the playbook that we're going to follow from now until forever. And if we want to go and have, rediscuss it, we can do it at the kitchen table. We can go to mediation, or we can go back to court. But we kind of have everything planned out because kids all do about the same basic shit. Kids are not that complicated,
Yeah.
They all go through the same things, the same phases of life, and we get there. So it's just, it is a way to kind of speed up your divorce. I mean, this is the end product, and I don't know why Larry's don't let you see it until 2 days before your court. They're like, hey, by the way, do you want to look at this parenting plan and try to settle 2 days before your court case? I can't handle that stress. I still have a job. I'm still taking care of kids. And now you want me to look at something that's going to plan out my whole
Yeah.
life in 2 days, Larry?
Yeah.
Where have you been for the past year? Where has this been? Like, Put it in your hands.
Yes.
You be the one that picks it, not Larry. Larry doesn't even have
Yeah.
kids. Like,
No,
come on.
I love that you said that. Don't be afraid to drive the process. That is absolutely, be judicious, obviously, with your time. So if you're preparing something, have it be one email and done, or one phone call, no drips and drabs. We want to save you that time and money. CG Butterfly said, sign me up. So
That's right.
and for the other questions about people asking about more detail and how much, as Samantha said, it's just the new website page is launching today.
Mm-hmm.
So please head over to the website to get all the details. Samantha Boss, thank you so much for joining me. You've
Thank
been so
you.
generous, not just with your time, but also with so much great information.
Yeah.
For anybody who joined us late, I'm Alex Beattie, divorce prep coach. My guest today has been Samantha Boss. She's a mediator. She's a parenting plan expert, as well as a high conflict divorce expert. And I will be tagging her in this conversation, again, at Samantha Boss. If you want anything or everything from her, that's where you're going to find her. But I
Man.
appreciate your time, and I hope to talk to you again really soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all. And again, just go to samanthaboss.com. Alex has all of my stuff. We are friends. We are on social media with each other all the time. So just keep following. And again, be your own advocate. Have no regrets that you didn't try your hardest to just speak up for yourself.
Yes, just from the jump. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Samantha. Have a
You're
great rest.
welcome. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Take care.